Sponsored in part by 4-Wheel Campers, freedom on 4 wheels. 7 months out from the camper install date, I took a closer look at visible rust creeping out from the rear window on Big Red K10. Removing it and the cargo light revealed that rust had almost totally destroyed the sheet metal beneath them. Stuck with only basic shop tools, a budget under $500, and no previous experience, I spent 5 months obsessively working 7 days a week to level up my skills, restore this window frame, and ultimately persevere. Here's my journey into custom sheet metal fabrication and how I restored the window frame on this old Squarebody K10. Here we are with the window out. You can see the rust is pretty bad. You can see the bottom lip for the window isn't pretty intact. It's just that top lip. I've gone around and poked at it and poked holes here and there. You can see here. Same goes like up here. You can see pinholes that I poked through. Definitely there. The passenger side window frame was amongst the most rotted sections, so it's where I started. I used a paint strip tool to remove surface rust, treated remaining with rust mort, then chased remaining pits with a Dremel tool until only bare steel remained. My first panel was constructed of strips welded together, then ground down. It looked great, but after installing I quickly realized the panel was structurally flawed, as my welds did not properly penetrate. Bending and shaping the panels was the way to go for less welding and a much better quality patch. I decided to move on to the bottom windowsill and revisit this panel once I made my way around the window frame. I set the camera down for 100% focus to figure out how to shape a patch for the bottom frame. I got to work with vice grips, straight edges, hammers, and more for 2 weeks, eventually coming up with ways to recreate the contours and angles to match the original. Inexperience led me to think I could install the entire bottom frame in one piece, resulting in an entire length made from 18 gauge sheet metal. 4 separate sections welded together here as you see. I was thinking I was going to put this all in as one piece, and then I quickly learned and realized that nope, that's not going to happen because this wall starts to move and it's not supported. I'm going to have to put this in a few different pieces. This is just surface rust, thankfully. All right, now after treating the rust that was here on this lip and that had gone a little bit down the surface rust, you can see I sanded it off and it looks pretty good. I'm gonna go back over it one more time, this part. This line here, this green line, that's where I'm gonna chop it to fill in that section I cut out already. And you can see it starts to slope here. I'm working on this because that's how it goes in the corners. It starts to slope down into that corner. I came up with a tool where I'm going to hammer this piece that I'm going to cut out, shave this down with a grinder to like a 45-degree angle here, and then tack welded it to this bottom piece. So I'm going to use this, cut that piece out, and it's basically going to sit on it like this, and that'll make that edge sharper. Here's how I tune up the windowsill pieces I made. Basically, this piece right here is sitting on this thicker piece of steel, and I have them clamped together, and I'll tune up that 45-degree angle there. Here the rust has been removed and bare metal painted with rust reformer. Original spot weld placements were taped off when spraying to prevent contaminating the new spot weld. Here's the patch panel. Much closer fit now. I'm going to tack weld it there and across the bottom, tack it to the corner there, and then I will not weld it to this old metal here. that's going to be open. So alignment is really key, because this is going to be my guide moving forward, this side of the patch panel. So I want to make sure it's lined up. So that mark is what we're going to be cutting out too. I now have cut out the center section, and this piece is fully tack welded in over here, this first piece. I not only tack welded it in here, but I also tack welded it in on the other side where the spot welds are. So that this would act as a rigid guide to work from moving from here forward. If I didn't tack this, things are starting to move around, and basically this would open up like a can of tuna. Here's the piece I cut out. If you look on the back, you can see there's like the original primer, I guess. And you don't see a lot of rust. There's some surface rust there. This lip actually looks better than the lip did over there originally. And you don't see much here, but you do see these little rust dots there, and then the gaping hole here, which I poked through with a poker. If you look at the other side here now, you can see it looks a lot worse. There's pits everywhere. This metal is thin. That primer underneath is probably helping hold it together a little bit. So to try and patch all this would be pretty much impossible, and you'd have all these butt welds everywhere. Better to just cut it all out and have a nice secure piece of metal here and limit the butt welds. I set the camera down again and put all my focus into tackling the second and third bottom sections of the window frame, prepping the metal underneath in the same fashion. Then arrived at the fourth and final piece. I'm going to follow that line and cut this out with my Dremel tool. This is the reinforced wheel. I really like this because it's so thin, and I can just fine tune, use it around here to cut this out. Bye rust. I cut video again to focus on finish welding in the new metal patches. A lot of work, but in the process I learned to identify and repeat proper weld penetration, cutting down on tedious grinding time and touch-up welding. So I went ahead and ground down all those welds. It turned out pretty good for hand formed with basic tools. Here's the spot welds on the inside. I just need to grind them down, smooth out this pinch seam a little bit. But perseverance pays off. If you have something tough to tackle, don't give up. Keep pushing at it until you accomplish it. Take your biggest weaknesses, I never even knew how to do this before, and turn it into your strength. I did it to the best of my ability. Coming up in part 2, there's lots of work ahead, but I'll finish restoring this window frame, take you along for the journey, and show you how I went from what most thought was crazy and impossible to success.